In this tutorial video, I'll be showing you how to build more layers on your underpainting using colour pencil. Okay, so we've got to the point now where we've finished putting down our base layers, our underpainting, albeit just dry pencil. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start going in on small areas and we're going to start to build up the actual fur texture now. Obviously where I've been applying the pencil, if I just zoom in here, I've been doing it in the direction of the actual fur itself. But if I zoom right in, you'll see, if I go down to the nose, and you can see here, this little area here where that's got a little hint of pigment, you can see how rough the texture of the paper is, and you can also see up here as well, and we still need to eliminate that. And applying all of this base layer of pigment is mainly to eliminate all of that tooth of the paper showing through. So obviously you can see in places it is still showing through, but as we go in now with our sharp pencils, we will gradually start to eliminate that and build up a lovely soft sheen of our fur texture. So I'll be zooming in, and that is the part we will be doing next in this part of the tutorial videos. Okay, so I'm going to come in first of all. I tend to work logically, so I work from the back forwards. So I work, say, the points which is usually the furthest away, which is usually the ears or the back of the neck, and then I work my way forwards, because if you think about all of this fur here, where the face fur, the top of the head, flicks out over the ears, you don't want to put all this in place and then go in and try to do the ear and put in all the shadows and texture of the fur of the ear underneath what you've already created here. You want to create the ear first and then work your way forwards as the fur would naturally lay in layers coming forwards. So you want to get all your ear in place on both sides, and then you move forward to the forehead, and then you can flick that fur up over the top. So we're just going to come in here. It's quite difficult this, because I've got a real reflection of the lamp today. Just reflecting off the surface of my pigment, because I'm using all polychromos as well. I've got a lovely sheen from the oil from the polychromos, but it's not helping with my bright light, my daylight lamp on there, because that is reflecting too. So literally really sharp pencils, and I'm just going in and starting to work the detail, eyes flicking backwards and forwards to that reference photo the whole time, looking at the length and the direction of the fur as I work. You want to keep your pencils nice and sharp now. You see I'm still holding it though, about halfway down the pencil, so the pressure is still really light. If I was wanting to put on a lot of pressure, I'd be moving my fingers up to the tip and where I can press harder, but at the moment I'm naturally just holding it quite loosely. Light pressure if you do my pressure test, so still sort of a pressure of 3 on the pressure test scale, and you can see that pressure test video on my YouTube channel, and I will do another one this month, just using the polychromos as an example. So again, I can just still see the roughness of the tooth of the paper, which I want to get rid of. I know not all artists do get rid of this tooth when they work on Pastelmat, but I prefer to, so I will push it, those extra layers, because I don't want rough graininess showing up as the texture, because that's not the texture of the actual animal. If I really wanted a nice texture, I'd probably switch to working on canvas or something, and have the canvas showing through, because I like the texture of the canvas. It makes it look more like an oil painting as well. Just starting off first of all, going back in with all of my darks, and I'll build up to through the mid-tones, all those colours again, those lovely colours that we used. I'll do this outer edge just near the end as well, where we've got the texture of the fur coming out onto our support. So yeah, like I was saying, we're putting all our darks, and then we'll go in and put in all our mid-tones up to our lights, and then if we need to take it back down, if that tooth is still showing through, really grainy, we'll take it all the way back down again. And this is where a lot of people don't push their work to the next level. They're happy to leave it at these initial stages. Like I say, I could just go in here now, put in all the fur detail and leave it there, but to me, I want to take mine further again. I keep repeating it, I don't want to leave that grainy tooth of the Pastelmat there. I love the tooth because it allows me to get down all of these layers, but I don't want any of it to be seen as part of the aesthetics, the visuals of the finished piece. You'll see as well, once I've done this ear and we move on to the other one, you'll see the difference then between the finished texture. So if this wasn't a tutorial just where I'm showing how to use the Polychromos, I could go in here with some Zest-It and sink some of this pigment into the tooth. I could go in over the top with some black pan pastel, and that would instantly sink, fill the tooth to a beautiful rich deep black. That's what I would do out of choice, but because this is a tutorial just to show you how we are doing this dog just using our Polychromos, then I won't be using Zest-It or the pan pastel for the tutorial itself. I can always go in there later on once the tutorial is finished and I want to change it and add a little bit more soft depth to the black, but for this, for what we're looking to do here, I'm not going to. So you see, I'm just literally filling in all of that lovely shadow behind this ear. Looking at all the shapes, directions, the lengths of the fur strokes. I'm just filling in all the shadows behind. It matters not. You see here, I'm bringing this all the way down over the top of the lights that are in place here. That's okay. It's just getting rid of that, adding another layer of the pigment and filling that tooth. So the next time we go in with a light colour, it'll be less grainy, and if the grain is still showing, we'll go in with our darks once more and keep repeating the process. And this is where people lose patience as well, so you just need to push on through. Again, see, light pressure. I need to sharpen up again soon. I'm going to come in now with my dark indigo. Work our way all over with our dark indigo as well now. Pushing away all of those strokes. Following the direction. And if you think about it, right, down here we've got, say, our black, our dark indigo, some Indanthrene blue, got some Caput Mortuum in here as well. So when you think about your colours blending, all of those colours are going to blend together. And an area where you've got more, say, Caput Mortuum violet than another, when you add a light colour, so a grey or something over the top, they're all going to instantly reveal what colours have gone down in place. When you start to add your light colours, like your greys, your ivories, your light flesh, your white, it'll instantly reveal what is down underneath. So I'm going to bring in here, I've got a cinnamon here now, I just want to add a little touch of the cinnamon up over this edge. I actually need to get some of my mauve in up here as well. Some touches in through here. Just get the mauve. So if you don't see these colours, you don't have to put them in, but really, really look hard at your reference. I mean, your screen is going to look different to my screen. My printout is very blue, whereas my reference on my tablet is very pinky purple. So I'm sort of looking at both images as I work. I normally say just stick to one image, but I am flicking my eyes between the two. So I don't actually want it too pinky purple, I don't want it too blue, so I'm looking for something in between the two. So now I'm going to switch to my Caput Mortuum violet. You see, I'm still really popping it in undertones. I'm just refining it. What you'll find with the techniques that I show you is we start off quite loose. We just, like when we did this underlayer initially, quite loose, we just literally colour blocked in quite quickly, keeping our pencil down on the paper. We just loosely blocked all those colours into place, and then each layer that you do now just gets slightly more refined. So you're a little bit more careful about where you place it, a little bit more precise. You start to add a little bit of texture and it builds. And even sometimes you'll go round, you feel like you're going round and round and round in circles on an area and you can't see any difference. But then if you look at, this is the benefit of taking photos of your work as you go along as well, is if you look at a comparison photo then of, say, this ear before you started on it, and then say an hour later when you've worked and worked and worked it, and then you feel that you can't see the wood for the trees and it looks no different, you will notice a difference then. Okay, so just looking at that other reference, I'm going to bring in a little touch of my Indanthrene blue. done through. Just want to get a few more touches of blue, just cutting up through here. We'll come in next with our lights. And then anywhere that we take too light, we can just take it back down again, but we're going to get to the point very soon, because these ears are so dark, there's not a huge amount of texture in there, which is a bit unusual. But it's more about the hint and direction and length of that fur that we're putting in. I still would like to get this a lot darker in the centre there. I know it's looking darker on the screen, but in reality I'd like to push those values a little bit more. Okay. There we go. Now there's some warm tones in here, so I'm going to bring in my dark sepia. So let's have a look here. So if you've got the full range of the any pencil set really, then you can easily find a colour, tone, a hue that matches what you're looking for. I'll put a little bit of this over here as well. I'm thinking ahead already I'm going to be popping a light grey over here in a second. So I'm just thinking about the effect that it's going to have by having this warmer undertone down already. Just thinking ahead. Remember I said about your palette is, your mixing palette is your support. So as you're adding your colours and building them, you're thinking ahead. So, okay, what other colours am I going to add to create that effect there? That colour, that hue, that value. You're thinking ahead. And even if you're not to start with, even if you're just following along with the tutorial and you are, following my direction and using the colours I'm using, that's fine. In time, your confidence, just with practice, your confidence will build, and once you start to see those colours yourself, you'll see your own range of colours. It won't necessarily even match mine, it might do, but you might see your own range of colours, which would be fantastic. So it'll make the work your own as well. And it just literally comes with practice. So now I'm going to go in with, this is my cold grey 3. Is that what I want to go in with, or do I want a warm grey? I think I want a warm grey. A warm grey 2, and I'm going to take this cold grey 3 first of all. I've got areas here. I'll come in over the top with some of my warm grey. Like I say, don't worry if you put too much down and it starts to blend into like one chunk, because you can come back in with your darks and cut through that again, as long as you're keeping your pencils nice and sharp. Cut through that again and again. If you take this too light, because I know I've took that too light there on purpose, so I can show you that you can then come in with, you can put Mortem over the top and soften it back again. And think about, I've got the warm grey here now as well, so think about how this fur, this long fur here, so it's coming out and sweeping up over the ear. So there's going to be a point where the light's hitting it and it'd be slightly brighter and it's going sinking away into darkness and coming out of darkness, so it's going to graduate as it comes around, and then it'll graduate as it sinks back into the ear. So what do you want to do? I'm just going to put in a few of these hints of this texture up here as well. I can still see the tooth of the paper, so we'll be going over this again, just repeating the process. I also need to bring in some flesh colours up here as well. Just little touches. See, light pressure of the pencil still holding it quite a way down. Here, there's little hints, really soft pressure. It's just like little squiggles. Lift, little squiggle. Just little touches. Okay, we'll use the warm grey here. There's a little touch of the cool grey going in there as well. You could switch here if you wanted and use a darker warm grey, so like you can come in here with a warm grey 4 or 5, but I'm just coming in here with a really light pressure on my warm grey. It's 2, isn't it? Yeah, warm grey 2. Nice chunk of fur there. So again, I'm going to do this and I'm going to sink it all back again because it is still grainy there. I don't want that graininess. I want it to be smooth like fur. Okay, so now I'm going to come in there with my, this is the cold grey 3. I've lost some of the pinks up here. I need to pop some of the pinks back in. Okay. So to sharpen up my black again, I like losing some of the hints of the pink, so I'm just going to pop a few tinges back in here. This is the Pink Madder Lake, this one. Okay. Now little touches of that mauve. Some of our dark indigo. Softening some of those ends there where it sinks into the darkness. And we'll do the same, we'll go right in there and sink some of them right the way back to black in a second. And we'll also lift some of those highlights right up. So if I just get my, this is the Cold Grey 2, I'll pop it on here, a little bit more pressure, just where I want the brightest highlights to be showing up. And then we'll cut through them with our black. I might even add in a couple of little hints of white to those brightest areas. So just on here, this is where the curl is hitting the light the most. I'm exaggerating it a little bit. We can sink it back later when we do our top to toe finish. You see, I'll flick the fur away, I'll also pull it back down into the shadows as well. So back in here with, I could put Molten Violet now, just to break up some of those highlights. Now I'll come in, I've just got the whites just to pop in. There's a couple of fine hairs I wanted to just get in there. And now I'm going to cut through some of this with my black. So especially here, just to knock some of this back. I've gone quiet, I'm concentrating. I even found it's a good job you can't see me, I even had my tongue out then. Not that you need to know that. I don't want you visualising me. Okay, so I'm just going to come up here once more now and just add in a few more touches of those undertones if we've lost them anywhere. Just in here, some of that Indanthrene blue going back in. Like I say, I've exaggerated the highlights a tiny bit more there. A couple more touches of our pink, just coming up through. I'm going to just pop a tiny bit of our warm grey up there over that ear just to give a little bit of a highlight, a little hint. So just coming back down. I say we touch all of this up right at the end of the whole portrait. We go top to toe, so we get this pretty much to sort of 95% there, and then we save a little bit right at the end for our finishing touches. softly pulling that curl back down into the shadow again as well, pushing it up and away. And that brings that ear, for now, pretty much to completion. Enough for us to be able to come forward now and start working this fur that flicks up over it, which will instantly then as well push the ear back even further. One last little layer of pigment in that inner darkest area. Might use just like a little stick just to blend that. Could even use your finger as well, but I just don't want to dirty my finger up at the moment. Okay. Little hints of fur here. Little flicks up here. And then this is starting to come forward then into our brow, which is going to be, we're going to be tackling this as a much cooler area here when we start to come forward onto this brow. Okay, so I'm going to speed up now also get the other ear done, and then we'll come back and start working on the face. Okay, so we've speeded up now, just whilst I move over onto this right hand ear, as we look at the dog. As you can see, literally we're just following the same principle that we did on the first ear on the left. So we're just going back in with our darks first of all, so our dark indigo, our black. I've just used a touch of the warm grey 2 just up over the point of the ear, the tip of the ear. But I'm just going back in now because we've chosen to use this aubergine purple colour pastel mat. It is coming through a little bit more than I wanted, so it is taking a lot of layers at this point to not hide it, but basically to eliminate most of it showing through. We want a hint of it coming through as an undertone, but not to take over as a main colour of the dog, so to speak. We'll use it more further down the dog as well. You'll notice though I did actually bring in a touch of pink up around the top there as well. We'll use more pink over the face in a bit as well. And that's that pink Madder Lake that goes in. It was gone in on the undertones, and it will come in more as we build the layers. Just to say here as well that this is sort of like a mid underpainting. You've done your basic underpainting. This is now sort of a mid layer. And in the video is going to sort of show as well at some point that I will fill in the nose, and I will also fill in the mouth, and I've done that as a more natural way of me working, although the videos I will try to tie together. So I'll show you, this is like a second sweep of layers. So if you wanted to take the whole ear to completion, you could do that under layer, then you could do this mid layer, and then come back in and do the finesse of the final detail layer as well. You can do that in each area of the piece if you want. So if you want to take one ear to completion and then the other, obviously you work your way through the tutorial and the videos slightly differently. If I was working this, like I say, as a normal portrait, I would be working all over at the same time. And then, like I say, filling in the nose as I go along, filling in the mouth as I go along. But because this is for a tutorial, I've had to break down each area into segments for you. So here we can just see I'm doing one ear, then the other ear, then the side of the face, and then the face itself, and then I'll do the neck. But this is a second sweep of pencil. So rather than me bringing one area to completion, I'm going to be bringing it to about... Some areas will come to about 80% completion on this sweep. And some will be about 90 to 95% completion. So you'll find that this little area that I'm working here now, I'm starting at the back, remember, logically working my way forwards. I've used white and I've used that warm grey to just to, there's that real backlit lighting there on that fur on that side, and I've just started to combine those with my my black, my indigo, my caput mortem, just to start to soften that outside edge. So when I come back in here, there might just be a few touches. I'll work this area quite a lot, so that when I do my third and final sweep top to bottom, which comes right at the end of the portrait, there'll be less work done in that area as well. There might be slightly less work done in the ears because I've worked those quite a lot. There will be, though, more work to do on the face with super sharp pencils, and also down through the ruff of the neck into the chest. There'll be more work to do there later on as well in the final sweep, but this isn't the final details. So just to repeat, if you want to take it to completion here, just look for the third and final fur texture video links to this. Like I say, in between I will be doing the nose next and then the mouth, simply because as I was working on the dog, it just looked really strange to me to leave that out. It was unnatural, and he needed a nose, and I needed the nose there for me to be able to work towards as well. It's not part of the fur texture, so it can go in and you can then work the fur texture up towards that nose. So it needed to be in place before the final sweep anyway. So you can see here I'm just pulling in some of my blues again. So I've got that Indanthrine blue, the dark indigo. I also use dark sepia. I've used some nougat down in that right hand side of the face as well there, along with my warm grey. Touches of caput mortem going in there as well. And you see here I've just gone back up to those ears now, and I'm just balancing out the left one with the right one as I work. That's the cool grey going in there now. That's the cool grey 1. So I'm using that to try and give the impression of some of those long hairs that sit over the top of the ear. But you just find it, like I say, all of it is just repeating yourself. So now I'll cut back in as well now with my darks around some of that highlighted fur that I've added. And I'm using the white to go in on the super bright highlights. So the tips, the curl of that fur, those hairs in over the ear, the white will be on where the point where the light would be hitting it. And sometimes I just overemphasize that as well, just to give it a bit more artistic drama. And now I've just gone in with the dark around the edges again as well, just to sink back some of the shadows around those highlights again. And this is what comes from doing lots and lots of light pressure layers. If you went in there really heavy handed at the beginning, you probably need just 2 or 3 layers of heavy pencil, but you would be crushing that tooth of that paper, remember, so you then wouldn't be getting in as many layers, and it wouldn't have that you wouldn't have the opportunity then to add texture over the top if you wanted to. So back in here again now, lots of blue down over the face, blues, the mauve, could put mortem violets, so dark indigo, indanthrene blue, possibly a touch of Prussian blue, or not, Payne's grey, and of course our black. So we've worked the ears, we've worked the side of the face. You can see how I start to work my way forwards, but where we can see the tooth of that paper coming through, I'm just building the layers. I'll take it all down up to light like I have done, and now I'm going to go over all of this area now and take it all back down to dark. And it's doing this that push those, the tooth of the paper, so we start to see a lovely sheen. And I don't mean the sheen of the oil of the pencil, I mean the sheen and the softness, the build-up of the pigment. You see here where I'm just starting. We had that base, the underpainting layer, which looked nice. You could have left it as it was, probably as just like a nice loose sketch. But now we're going in and we're just building on that layer with more layers. See here, I'm just taking back all of that light that I've put in, that light colour, light tone, just taking it all back out with my darks. And then we'll just put more of our lights in over the top in all smooth, soften blend. But again, this is not going to be our final layer. This is just our our second underpainting, our mid layer. 2 of 3. See there, I've took all that light away. I've gone over the whole lot, so don't be afraid to work dark to light and then take it back to dark and then up to light again. Each time you'll notice on your own paper. Do it on a test sheet if you want. Start by putting down some darks and some mid-tones over the top, and then your light greys, and then put dark over the top again, then your mid-tones and your greys. And bring it from your dark, so your black, right up to your white, and then each time you'll see it, that pigment start to build, it starts to smooth, it starts to soften, and then you'll find when you've got that lovely build-up of pigment, lovely and thick, that's when you'll go in with your super sharp pencils at the end, and it'll cut through to create the texture. So we're still not really creating fur texture here. We're creating the softness. We're not really creating the hairs themselves. You see here I'm rotating between. I've put in some of that mauve, some of the caput mortem, some of the dark sepia. We've also got Payne's grey going in. That's our cool, dark, bluish grey, as I would define it. Got the cool grey 1 going in here again now. I should really get my pencil extenders out for when they start to get to this point. You get caught up in the flow of working, and you don't want to stop. So when we come to do our final layer over the top, we'll take some of this light out again, knock it back as I describe it. I've possibly mentioned, let's say, on previous videos, but I'll mention it again. People describe my work as starting off with those underlayers as being quite out of focus, like if it was a photo. And then with each layer that passes, it starts to gradually come more and more into focus, it sharpens up. And that's how I kind of describe it too, as each layer, each sweep of pencil top to bottom that you do, just adds more refinement. So you're tightening it up, you're adding more detail, you're really sharpening up sort of where all those shapes, shadows, highlights, and see here some of the fur texture lies, the fur direction. But it won't be until our final layer later on that we pull it all together. This is still mixing and blending. Every time I put that light colour, like a white or a grey, on top of my blues, indigos, violets, it mixes. Remember, it's a mixing palette, and it mixes and blends, and you get a lovely soft blend of all of the pencil and pigment that you've put down, all mixing, blending, softening, to create all these multi-tonal effects. So you see here, I took it all back down to dark, and now I'm taking it all back up to light. Then I'll just cut back through again with my midtones and my darks. Anywhere that you take too light, go back in with your darks. Anywhere you take it's too dark, just lift with your lights or your midtones. So back over again with little touches of the mauve, that Payne's grey. And same here, where I've used a lot of light, I've lost some of the undertone colours, so I need to go back in then with the Caput Mortuum around the side of the nose into that brow area. Same as down here, you need the lovely light reflecting on that stop of the nose and down from under the eye over the cheek, which is where I'm just popping some in there now with the warm grey, and then the cold grey one and the white to really enhance it. But then we'll lose some of the colours, so we need to pop some of the colours back in there as well. So I'm also using there another cold grey, it's a cold grey 3. Back in with that mauve. Quite surprising how much that mauve is being used. Dark indigo, warm grey, but again, this is where, when I say to you about pushing the value of your tones, so you need that shadow really, 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 really dark, so that you can then flick your lighter layers out over your lighter colour layers out over the top. So that's as far you can see around that muzzle area where there's no fur texture there, there's no real fur detail at all, none of that stubbliness. We're going to come back and do that in our final sweep. So moving down now to the ruff, the neck area, just going in first of all, lots of the reddish tones coming through either side and bluish tones as the light hits that fur on either side. So again, you can see I'm keeping my pencil to the paper. All of those lights that are down there around underneath the tongue area, and that all of that will get sunk back, because if you look above that line now of the work we've done, so from the chin upwards, can you see how dark that has gone? And that's come from our second sweep of pencil, our second underlayer, so to say, our second underpainting. So we need to now bring the bottom half now up to the same level, same amount of pigment as the top half. So it'll still be colour blocking like we did initially. We'll just start to refine and look closer at the shapes and the colours, the shadows, hues, values, everything, and just start to build them, to try to eliminate that tooth of the paper, getting rid of some of that undertone, that purpley colour of the paper, and building our pigment. So just speeding up again now, there's a tiny touch there of our Indanthrene blue gone in again, our dark indigo. So we're just knocking back some of that, all those highlights that were there, but we just need to build the layers of pigment. This is what gives you that lovely rich coat. I'm sure if you could see some of the artists' work that work just dry pencils onto Pastelmat, if you zoom in, I know people have said to me they've zoomed in and they can see the tooth of the paper, very obvious, so you can tell then that they've used slightly more pressure, or basically they just haven't put as many light layers down as this. So you can still see the tooth of the paper. If that's what you choose to do and that's the look that you're going for, then absolutely fine, you don't need to push it as much as this. I just like to push it as far as I can. And also, if you guys also have a go, even if it's just once with this tutorial, of pushing it as far as you can, it's your choice then going forwards how much, how far, how many layers you do actually put down on your pieces. See here now, I'm just softening back where I put in my blues and reds, going back in with a warm grey over the top. That will soften and blend, make it nice and smooth. Just pulling back in some of those highlights there again as well. Again, we'll knock all of these back out again. See those marks that I put there, just where the red, see I've put the red in over the top, put mortem over the top of some of those highlights. But just the fact that how dark I've got it there underneath the chin, it's simply just some hints of warm grey going in there over the top. You can see how much it just gives that lovely effect of the long fur curls without having to do very much work at all. You let that dark shadow sink away, and then you just need to give that hint of the fur texture. So this is going to bring our mid underpainting close to finish now. What I'll do now is I'll edit the nose video, and then I'll do the tongue and the mouth video as well. But there will be the third and final part of the fur texture itself. So there'll be, let's say there's the first part is the basic underpainting. This second part is mid underpainting, where we've built up even more pigment and started to add some refinement, and then our top to tail, or top to chest sweep will come at the end, where we add the refinement to all of this fur work, all of the final texture. We'll be using a comparison tool with our reference photo, and then we should end up with a wonderfully finished portrait. So I hope that you've enjoyed this second part of the video. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. It really helps. And I look forward to seeing you for the next part of this German Shepherd Black Fur tutorial. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.